Hey, welcome back everybody, and thank you for joining us here on Instagram once again for another Wine Wednesday. Hey, I'm Khristian LaRoche, sales manager for Waldorf Wine Group here in British Columbia, and I'm so glad you could join us here on Wine Wednesday. Oh, we got a cool wine this week, let me tell you. Really looking forward to this one. Wine Wednesday, as the name implies, we do this every Wednesday. We started doing this back in May of 2020 at the start of the pandemic, and it was our way of pivoting online to bring Waldorf Wine Group content to our loyal following, and just basically talk about everything under the Waldorf Wine Group umbrella. For those of you not familiar with this, Waldorf Wine Group, we're a small family-owned importing company. We started up back in 1993, still under the same family ownership. Andy Waldorf still firmly at the helm, and we have an eclectic portfolio. We only do European wines and bring them into British Columbia and Alberta. And we run the range. We cover a wide range of really cool wineries from small family estates, like we're trying today, co-op cellars, class growth Bordeaux, high-end Mosel Rieslings, German Rieslings, I should say. Organic Chianti, organic Brunello di Montalcino. We got some great wines from Piedmonte, organic as well. Lots of stuff, the whole gamut. Check us out if you can. If you haven't done so already, I do invite you to follow us. It's a good way to keep up with all things Waldorf Wine Group. We try wines that are currently in the market. Sometimes we'll try some samples that we're looking at bringing into the market. We talk about any promos that we might be having. Hey, we got some promos on this month, actually. We'll talk about that at the end of the video, if I remember. But, and if you haven't done so already, I do invite you, please follow us here on Instagram. We'd love to have you join us. We have a loyal following. I see our good friend David Lancelot there. Good to see you, David. And today, we're trying one of our absolute favorite wines. This is such a cool wine. I'm super excited, as if you couldn't tell. This is probably the ultimate expression of traditional Rioja wines. We've done them here before. Small family-owned producer. Well, not that small, actually. In Rioja terms, they're actually fairly sizable when you think about it. But small allocations we get in once a year. These are total cool, geeky, old school wines, and they are probably one of the ultimate examples of oxidative winemaking. We'll get into that a wee bit, but let's flip the camera. I want to show you what we're trying. This is just recently arrived new vintage, even though it's 8 years old, this is Lopez Heredia, our Lopez Heredia. This is Vina Gravonia. It's their white wine. And this is their new vintage, 2016, just released. So that's kind of what we're talking about here with Lopez Heredia. So really cool family-owned winery in Haro, about 77 kilometers due south of Bilbao in the Rioja Alta region. We'll pull that up on the Google Earth map. We feature these wines here many times, and they really deserve their reputation. Like I say, they are super, super old school. Some would argue they're almost more of a museum than they are a winery, but there's nothing wrong with that. You know, the family is super down to earth. They're not trying to do things just for the sake of doing it or to be cool and do something different. No, this is just the way they've always made the wines. Winery was founded by Don Rafael Lopez de Heredia y Landeta. He was born to Basque parents. He's originally from Chile and moved back to Spain in the late 1800s and ended up getting involved in the war, but came out kind of on the wrong end of things, and so he had to flee to France. So he went just north of the border with France and ended up working in the wine trade in Bayonne. But keep in mind, France, like a lot of Europe at the time, late 1800s, of course, was being ravaged by phylloxera. So a lot of vineyards were getting wiped out. So people needed to source wine from other areas. So this is where they got the idea of jarro. And they set up operations there. And Don Rafael ended up establishing the bodegas. It's not the oldest bodega. It's one of the oldest bodegas, but it's not the oldest bodega in the Rioja region. But like I said, long-standing, still same family-owned Lopez de Heredia. It's run these days by Maria Jose Lopez de Heredia. We've had her here before. Man, she is full of energy, full of piss and vinegar, that one. And she can tell you everything and anything about the wines and the winery and the family history. Super interesting. Her sister Mercedes is the winemaker, and their brother Julio Cesar looks after the vineyards as well, manages the vineyards. They're currently farming 4 single vineyards just north of the town of Haro, and we'll pull that up on the Google Earth map. If you've never been, I highly recommend it. Haro is such a cool place to visit. It's a great place for wine tourism. A real cool mix of wineries there, and just a really cool place to go. As mentioned, set up shop there. They're currently farming 182 hectares of vineyards. Their namesake is the Tondonia vineyard, Lopez de Heredia Viña Tondonia, which is, Tondonia itself is their biggest vineyard at 115 hectares. Gravonia actually comes from a vineyard just about 250 meters north of the bodega, just on the other side of the Ebro River. It's a 24-hectare vineyard entirely planted to Viura grape. Viura is a cool grape. We see it more in Catalonia and also in the Languedoc, where it's called Macabeo. It's used as a blending grape, either as standalone grape to make fairly neutral white wines, but it's quite often blended. You'll see it blended in the Languedoc region, or also blended with Perelada and Charelot to make cava, sparkling wines as well. On their own, like I said, the wines can be fairly neutral, but what's really cool is when you get older vines. So this is the Gravonia is made from a vineyard called Zaconia. Like I said, it's on the north bank of the Ebro River, about 250 meters away from the bodega. On average, these vines are 45 years old, although they have some pockets, different parcels of vines within the vineyard that are 92 years old. So low yields, 340 meters altitude. It's all organically farmed, natural fermentations. But the secret with these wines, Lopez de Heredia, getting back to it, as I mentioned before, the thing is, what the family's known for is, they treat all their wines the same, white, red, even the rosé wines, long barrel aging in old American oak barrels, and allowing oxygen to permeate those barrels, so the wine becomes naturally oxidized. So what does that mean, basically? So check out the color on this wine. So this is the latest vintage. Notice it's quite a bit deeper, sort of a medium gold color, the darker gold color, I would say. So this is kind of what happens with the wines once they become oxidized. The white wines get a little darker. They take on colors a little bit more like, say, apple juice, chicken stock, maple syrup, that sort of thing, a very dark kind of golden color. Whereas the red wines kind of lighten up in color and take on a little bit more of that bricky red. American oak is interesting because it is a wider grain than French oak. So because of that, it can be sawn, whereas French oak tends to need to be dried out, and then it has to be split. And it's a much tighter grain as well, too. Now, with American oak, when it's young, it can also impart a little bit more of that. If you've ever had California Chardonnays that give off that sort of butterscotch toffee, texture in your mouth when you're drinking it. It's diacetyl. And you won't find that so much in wines like these, because these are, again, older barrels. So they're more of a neutral vessel. They don't have a lot of diacetyl to give off. They don't impart a lot of wood tannin to the wine as well. They are mostly used as a neutral aging vessel, but they're porous. They're also stored down in their cellars, which are very humid, close to the river. And if you go down there, we'll pull up some shots of this. You'll see it. There's penicillin mold growing on the walls and cobwebs all over the place. And it maintains a natural level of humidity in there. And then the wine itself is racked twice a year in barrels. So what's cool about this wine technically for Lopez de Heredia, it's considered their crianza wine. So it's their youngest wine, a white wine, even though it's released at 8 years old. So, technically this could be released, for a crianza, it could be released in its second year, having spent at least a year in barrel. But this wine spends 4 years in barrel and 3 years in bottle before they even consider releasing it. So for any other winery, this is a Grand Reserva. A Grand Reserva is usually released in its 5th year, having spent at least 3 years in barrel. And this goes even beyond that, even for the crianza. So, that's a point too. These wines, because they are so long aged as well too, it changes the style a little bit. So again, if you're used to big tropical fruit, like if you drink New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, or if you drink, in the red wines, if you drank a big, young Grenache Syrah Mourvedre, or an Argentinian Malbec, young, very big, bright, jammy fruit and the like. These wines are very different. They have very developed fruit. So because of that, the white wines especially will take on a little bit more sort of like a waxy, paraffin wax texture. They'll smell a little bit more like sherry, a little bit from that oxidation too. So you get dried out flavors, sometimes a little bit briny, a bit medicinal. And the red wines too, again, you don't get that big, bright fruit. You get more of like a dried, slightly desiccated fruit, leathery as well. So they're interesting. They will appeal to very old school palates, I would say. We have to be very careful. We used to sell these wines. All these wines get screaming high scores. The wine that we're trying tonight, New Vintage, for example, that just got 95 points from Robert Parker's Wine Advocate. They all score in that range. But the thing is, we used to sell them to the BC liquor stores, and they would go on the shelves. They'd have their shelf talkers saying, 95 points, whatever. But a lot of customers, maybe buy it sight unseen or just based on the score, but they weren't familiar with the style. So you have to be very careful who you sell to, because a lot of people would take that wine home, open it up, think, oh, I'm really going to enjoy this. But if they've never experienced that type of winemaking, that oxidative winemaking or that old school style, they might be in for a rude shock, because they are not used to that dried fruit and, like I said, that more oxidative character. A lot of people would even think the bottle's off. There's something wrong with it. And we have to say, well, no, that's a conscious decision. That's how the wine has been made. What ends up happening is, like I said, the wine oxidizes. What happens is, as the oxygen gets in, it helps to polymerize the tannins in the wine. So what it does is it helps to lengthen the chains of tannins. What that does is that imparts a smoothness in your mouth, because if you've ever had a very young, say for example, a young tannic red wine, well, when you put that in your mouth, the protein, it interacts with the protein in your saliva. And that's what gives that mouth puckering astringency. Well, with the oxidized wines, again, you don't have that brightness and freshness of fruit, but the wine is mellowed, so it doesn't have that same reaction, and the wine comes across as much, much smoother and mellower. It's interesting, about 15 minutes before I went on to start the video, I took a little pre-sip of the wine just to make sure that everything was showing fine. and I'm still tasting the wine in my mouth. It is so darn persistent. I can't get over it. I'm really excited about this vintage in particular. You know what? Let's pull the bottle, or pull the shot around here. As mentioned, this is the 2016 Vina Gravonia, a single vineyard wine, 100% old vine Viura, aged for 4 years in old American oak barrels, 3 years in bottle before they even consider releasing it. You know what? I'm going to get the bottle out of shop. You know, this is also a good example. This wine is 12.5% alcohol. So it's a good example of low alcohol, but very full flavor. Let me just put the bottle out of shot here, and we're going to pull up the Google Earth map and sort of show you where we're located here. So we are back in Spain, north central Spain. Here's Madrid, straight up. So we're about 77 kilometers south of Bilbao in the town of Haro, just here. Now, I'm just going to pull up, if I may. Here is the Rioja wine map. I borrowed this from Wine Folly. So split into 3 different zones is the Rioja region. To the southeast, this is the warmer region where we get a little bit more Garnacha grape, bigger, more fruit-driven red wines to be sure. This is what used to be called La Rioja Baja, now called Rioja Oriental. If we go just a little bit northwest, just past the town of Logroño, we're getting into the Basque region of the Rioja region. This is the Rioja Alavesa. Very, very elegant wines. And there's a little outcropping here, not too far, a little further west as well, which is also part of the Rioja Alavesa, just across the river from Haro. Around here is Briones, where the very famous wine museum is at Dinastia Vivanco. And then just here is the Rioja Alta region for our purposes. So let's pull it back up again here. So as I mentioned, we're in the town of Haro, right along the banks of the Ebro River. And beautiful hilltop town. When I go there, there is a converted monastery called Los Agostinos, which is now a hotel, and I definitely recommend it. It's a great place for a base to explore Haro. Just down the hill here, as we get out by the highway and around the roundabout here, this is a zone where the train station is, and a lot of people set up shop here because this is called the Barrio del Estación, the neighborhood, the railway district neighborhood, and a lot of wineries set up shop here. Cune, Compañía Vinícola del Norte de España. Hey, we used to import those wines in many moons ago. Across the street is Bodegas Muga, which are still here in the market. Then we have another traditional winery just a little bit north here, Bodegas Gomez Cruzado. I believe they're Mexican-owned now. Just north of them is La Rioja Alta. I believe they're still in the market here. And then up here, just up by the river, is a very, very space-age modern winery run by a Catalan couple, Bodegas Roda. Lots of stainless steel and computers. Well, then right next door, talk about your juxtaposition of styles. Here is Lopez de Heredia, the old school. It's like a Fort Knox of wine, and it's a super, super unique winery. Let's just do one quick thing here. I'm just going to pull up a couple of things here, if I may. There we go. So that's Maria Jose Lopez de Heredia. We had her here a number of years ago in British Columbia. Always great to host her with her, and that's her vineyards in the background. We'll pull this up on the Google Earth map. But here's a shot of the winery, and with the red tiled Swiss tower there, which you still see on the label. It's very, very cool. But what's interesting is probably what's below ground. Like as I mentioned, we have a labyrinth of cellars in there, and you can see that up on the top there's a lot of the that penicillin mold growing on the walls in these long, very, very humid galleries. And they don't move anything. They don't even move the cobwebs. This is their tasting room as well. Really cool. The library down there. It's a great experience to taste wines down there. I'm just going to pull up one other thing, if I may. Let's back it out here and pull up the maps. Here we go. So the bodega, as we mentioned, is just down here. And then for our purposes, this is the Tondonia vineyard that they bought from the clergy back in 1913. It produces red and white wines. It's about 115 hectares. They produce red wine, white wine, and the Rosado that we talked about. The Rosado for a long time was the only Grand Reserva Rosado in the Rioja region. They release it only at 10 years old. It's crazy. They won't be offering it again until 2026. Cubillo here, we featured this a couple of weeks ago. This is their Crianza wine. Again, similar to this wine. Even though it's the Crianza for Lopez de Heredia, it qualifies Grand Reserva for any other winery. And then just north is a smaller vineyard, 15 hectares. This is Bosconia, only doing red wine. They only do Reserva and Grand Reserva. We've got a couple of cases, 4 or 5 cases left in the warehouse from our last allocation. Still have a little bit of Tondonia red as well, both in 375. I think we're down to our last case of 375 and 3 or 4 cases of the 750. And the Gravonia is here right in the middle of it all. As mentioned, 340 meters above sea level. It's poor, gravelly, alluvial clay, on average 45-year-old vines. And though they have some parcels of 92-year-old vines. Crazy, crazy, crazy. I'm just going to pull the bottle back into shot. This is, like I said, this is definitely the ultra-traditional style. When you think about it, a lot of wineries these days would find it very difficult to be able to offer wines such as this, because think about it. I'm going to make one other point too. The winery itself is also super, super hands-on insofar as they do everything themselves. They have their own cooperage on site. They make their own harvest tools. They make their own harvest baskets. They make their own barrels and vats. At any given time, they have over 14,000 barrels in vats. That is mind-blowing. It's like a Fort Knox of wines. They've got, at any given time, 21 different vintages on the go in their winery. It's crazy. But think about the scale of doing that. My running joke is this winery, you can tell it's not owned by a bank or an insurance company, because who would hang on to product for that long? That's tying up their capital. And think about it too as a consumer, or if you're a restaurant or a wine shop. A lot of customers, we either don't have the facilities to age our wine that length of time, or the patience to do so. So to be able to get a wine like this, that's already 8 years old, it's just coming onto the market. Now that's pretty cool. Who does that except for Lopez de Heredia? One of the few who still do that. So that being said, the wines are not, how shall I put it? They're not inexpensive, okay? But the other thing too is, in a world full of trophy wines that are, thousands of dollars a bottle, these are far, far below. Our current Reserva, thanks, David. Yeah, I would say, given the length of time, yes, they are a deal, all things considered. This wine probably, if you can find it now, I'll make another point. These wines are hard to find because we get one allocation a year. The white wines especially, they're like hen's teeth. We only get a couple of six packs, and everybody wants them. And it's hard. It's just, unfortunately, a lot of people have discovered the wines, so we're on a very, very, very strict allocation. Despite the fact that we've been bringing the wines in for years, it's, we could sell tons of these wines over and over, but it's just everybody around the world wants a little piece of them. So what do? You take what you can get. I got into the business many, many moons ago. I used to actually live back east in Ontario, and I was a member of the National Capital Sommelier Guild. And we did a tasting at the National Gallery of Canada many moons ago, and we were trying Lopez de Heredia wines going back to 1964. And I vowed then and there, if I ever got into the business, I would love to work. It would be my dream to work with Lopez de Heredia, and I'm so proud to say that I made that happen. So that's my feather in my cap. Anyway, we're just, like I said, we're thrilled to be able to bring these wines in. But, you know what? This might be a good time to give the wine a try. These are really interesting because they're a bit divisive in terms of how the wines are handled. A lot of people with a wine like this would maybe be tempted to decant it. And we've had Maria Jose Lopez de Heredia herself here saying, never decant my wines. Her thinking is, if you put her already naturally oxidized wines in a decanter, the rapid introduction of oxygen in that decanter will basically knock down the wine and make it go into like a dumb phase again. It's almost like a bottle shock. When we get samples come in that have been traveling and bumping around, a lot of the times the wines just kind of go to sleep. They don't show anything. We have to wait for them a few weeks for them to settle down before we can try them. It's kind of the same argument with this. It's spent a long time like that. So the rapid introduction of oxygen, she says, knocks down. Look, if you buy the wine, you deal with it as you see fit. I won't tell you how to handle it, but that was her suggestion. She suggests just put a little bit in the glass and follow it. Let's see how it opens up over time. And I know that makes for very slow dinner parties, but that's the way she does, and that's the way I tend to do it a little bit as well. So check out the color. Fairly deep gold, medium to deep gold. And let's give it a sniffy sniff and see what we've got. Oh, the other thing I'll make mention, these are this is Old Vine Viura, high acid wine, very, very long lived in the cellar. And it's that acid backbone that is like the central nervous system to this wine that really helps to support the fruit. The oak is there, but like I said, it's more in the background because it's older oak. But serving temperature, serve these wines cool, not cold. I would always recommend 15-20 minutes before the meal, take the wine out of the fridge and let it come up to temperature. Because these wines are very textural. They've got a lot of umami characteristics going on in them. And you miss it out. If you serve it too cold, you numb the fruit and you don't pick up on any of that. So let's give it a swirl and a sniff. Ooh, wow. There's so much going on in there. I'm getting like grilled almonds and wax, like paraffin wax, and almost like a little bit of pear, definitely, and a little bit of almost like a quinine note going on there. Really super, super interesting. And I'm definitely picking up like a lemon peel note on it too. There's definitely some zingy acidity. 2016 is a great vintage, very, very acid driven. Maria Jose Lopez de Heredia herself said 2016 was the last classic Rioja vintage of recent years. They're suffering the effects too of global warming as well too. So it's nice to get something that's very, very a little bit leaner, a little more classic, a little more acid driven. Let's give it a taste and see what we've got. Oh yeah. Wow, what a nice snap of acidity. Picking up some of that pear skin. Maybe like a little bit of a fennel note going on there too, but again, a little bit of that quinine as well, finishing on the note. It's quite minerally. It's got a little bit of a briny character, but I'm picking up again a little bit of almost like that grilled almond note to it. Really nice. I need another sip, please. Bear with me. Wow. Super acid driven, but it really fans out. Picking up a nuttiness on the finish, and wow. I'm telling you, that is persistent. Really super persistent. Real peacock's tail happening there too. Wow. This is possibly the ultimate expression of barrel-aged white Rioja. This is Vina Gravonia. You probably won't find it. These go really quickly. We only had a couple of 6-packs. I picked mine up at Marquee Wine Cellars here in Vancouver, and I don't think anybody else around the province has got anything in at the moment. You can look around. But yeah, we still have a couple of the reds left. A little bit of Bosconia, a little bit of Tondonia Red Reserva in 375 and 750 ml. I'll post it in the comments after the video. But yeah, like I said, this is the stuff that gets the Rioja traditionalists all weepy. Classic wines from a fantastic wine family. Absolute Rioja wine royalty here. So yeah, very excited to get those wines in. What else have we got going on? Well, it's definitely spring. Lots happening. We, as in Waldorf Wine Group, are about to blast off to for our yearly Bordeaux exodus. We go every year to the En Primeur tastings at the beginning of April to assess the quality of the latest vintage. It's a good schmooze fest. It's a good time to go and do some business and see what's going on. We join Barb Phillip, Master of Wine, there. She's there for the BCLDB, and we spend a good part of the week with her there, trying all the wines and barrel and comparing notes and maybe do some business. Who knows? But all good. What else have we got? We got a reload of our Sellback Fish Riesling, and another 336 cases just arrived, so lots of that available. Hey, we were speaking of promotions. We got a couple of promotions on now at BCLDB until April the 26th. Speaking of the Sellback Fish Riesling, check it out. That is it's $1 off at BCLDB for until April 26th. What else have we got going on? We also have our Chianetti San Luigi Dogliani organic wine from Piemonte, also at BCLDB. That's $2 off a bottle. Our natural Minervois from Chateau Coupereau's Natura Mania, that's $1 off until April 26th. If we want to try a natural wine at a great price, check it out. Mother's Day's coming, Easter's coming, our Deschamps-Sony Brut Rosé Cremant de Loire, traditional method sparkler using Cabernet Franc Rosé Brut. That's $1 off as well, too, until April 26th. And if you want a sweet treat, our Armagnan des Ormes Sauterne, the most popular Sauterne in British Columbia, that's $2 off until April 26th. So check those out at BCLDB. I've also got that posted on our Instagram right now. So check that out. I've got a listing with all the listing codes and stuff like that. Yeah, and if you haven't done so already, please, I do invite you. We'd love to have you join us here on Instagram. As mentioned, Wine Wednesday, we do this every Wednesday. It's a great way to keep up to date. So, yeah, please join us, and we'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye for now.